Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna, this is Coffee, Books, and Bullet Journals, and I'm going to talk about the books I read in January. Alright guys, so January, though started very slow, ended up on a fantastic note. I managed to get through so many books thanks to a couple of very quick readathons. I participated, well, I hosted with Kylie the catch-up-a-thon, which is just a 24-hour readathon, and we're going to do that every month, I think, which is kind of exciting. And then I participated in the 24 and 48-hour readathon. And that one, though I didn't read for the full 24 hours, I still read like 15, almost 15 and a half hours. I don't know. I don't remember. I have a vlog that I'll link up there. Yeah, so I got through quite a bit of books, especially towards the end of the month. So I want to talk about that. Now, if you'll notice, my ratings are going to look quite different this year. And that is because I've started doing some half-star ratings. I started doing a very, a more in-depth breakdown of my star ratings, definitely looking at things a little bit more critically rather than just kind of a gut feeling, and I'm liking it. I'm really liking it so far. I will do a video in the next few days about how I'm going about doing my star ratings, and I will, hopefully you guys enjoy it and understand it. I don't know, it works for me. So anyways, let's talk about the books that I read in January. Now, you might hear my dog. She's in the room with me, and so if she's whining or talking, Sasha likes being in these videos. So in the month of January, I managed to read 11 books. I have been tracking my stats versus 2018 versus 2019 since I've now been on BookTube for an entire year. So that is 2 books more than I read in 2018. I read 9 books in 2018, 11 this year. So that's good. My total page count for the month was 3,589 pages. Granted, some of those were not read in January. They just count in January. I finished a book that I had started in December, but the page count didn't go to December. It goes to this month. It's confusing, I know, but it just works. Sasha's literally sitting right underneath the camera, right at me. So hopefully the tripod doesn't move. And also I'm just trying to figure out what she wants. So hold on, I'm gonna see what she wants. Okay, I'm back. That was just, yeah, she wanted food. Anyways. Yeah, so a total count of 3,589 pages. It's funny because I did have an 1,100 page book in there. I also did some graphic novel readings, so that's probably why that number looks a little bit lower. My average pages is only 326 pages per book because I had 3 graphic novels. For genres, I read 2 contemporaries, which is pretty impressive. One of those being a contemporary romance. I read 3 dystopian, 1 fantasy, 3 graphic novels, 1 historical fiction, 1 mystery. So we have a little bit of, I guess, it's more diverse month. And I kind of talked about that in my TBR, that I was kind of picking some diverse books, which is kind of interesting. I don't foresee that being the case every single month, but hey, we'll go with it, right? For now, we'll start out on a very diverse note. I don't know. I don't really know how to do these wrap-ups. I'm sorry. I'm a mess today. Okay, so like I said, star ratings have changed quite a bit, and that means you're going to see more half stars. It also means that you're probably going to see less 5 stars, because a 5-star book for me now is going to have to be pretty gosh darn perfect. So I'm just going to go through the books. I'm going to tell you what the star ratings I had, and then I will go over the books that I read during the month. So I had 1 2-star book, 3 2.5-star books, 2 3.5-star books, 2 4-star books, 1 4.5-star books, and 2 5-star books. So even with the more critical look at my rating system, I still managed to get 2. I think that I probably would have had, at least 3 had I been had I just been doing like what I did last year. So I don't know, I started out the month with some pretty low ratings, which was a little bit frustrating, I guess. And yeah, so anyways, let's just talk about the books that I read. Okay, the camera angle changed just a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, so when I go review my books, I always go from the book that I liked least to the book that I liked the most. So we'll start with the 2-star book, and that was King's Rule by Jackie Ashton. Ashenden, I think is how you say her name. So this was an ARC I received, and to be honest, I don't even remember most of it, which is why it's rated so low. So this was a contemporary romance book, and it was a son of a crime lord-ish, and then I think, and so then he has to like hire this secretary, but he can't just hire anybody off the street, because even though like he's a respectable businessman now, like he still has a lot of family secrets, and so he doesn't want those to be disclosed. So he hires his stepsister, his younger stepsister, and there's like this whole forbidden romance between this man and his stepsister, and so technically like they're not blood related. So I really thought it was gonna be really good, because it was like I had high expectations for it, because it was like I don't know, I kind of like the whole like brother sister thing. It's weird, I know, but you know, whatever. And it was just, there wasn't enough of that. So like there would be like a scene where she would be like, oh, I can't sleep with him, he's my stepbrother, and then like the next scene their clothes are off. So it was just like meh. Yeah, so that was my 2-star book. I mean, it was a quick read, but it just wasn't what I was here for. So anyways, the next book I'm going to be talking about, I read during the Buzzword Readathon, and that was We Are Liars by E. Lockhart. I gave this a 2.5 stars, and this book was so boring. It was so boring, and I had high expectations for it, again, because I've seen so many people that really love this book. But I think I've talked about this in the past before, where I just don't think that YA is really the genre for me, and I know YA is not really a genre. I understand that. But YA books, I just don't get as much out of. I don't connect with them. I'm not able to really like glean from them what the author is intending. Does that make sense? Yes, okay. So this book is about a girl and her family, kind of. So they like are very wealthy family, and basically the entire time like they're just trying to argue about like who's gonna get the estate, and then like there's a mystery in there somewhere, but I don't know, the ending was really weird. Most people love the ending. I just was like, that's not okay. And also there is a death of a dog in this book. Nobody told me about that, and I got to that part and I was like, I like wanted to throw the book across the room, because I can't do animal deaths. Like, I can do people deaths all day, but animal deaths, especially like dogs, you know me, you know I love my dogs. That was just, it came out of nowhere. It was so unexpected, and there are no trigger warnings for that. So if you haven't read this and you were thinking about it, and that's something that's a content warning for you, there is a death of a dog in here, and it's not a pretty one. So there's that. All right. Well, moving on. I have a lot of ebooks that I read this month. I did a couple of ARCs, so I'm not going to have a whole lot of physical books to hold up. So the next book that I read was a graphic novel, and that was Bingo Love. And this one was really cute, but just really convenient, if that makes sense. So it's about these two women of color that in the 1960s they meet and they become best friends. They're in high school through college age, and they start a relationship, but obviously it's the 60s, they can't do that. So their families basically like ship them off to be married to men, and they live these very full lives. They have children and grandchildren, and then 50 years later they meet again, and they basically like, without much like thought and like consideration, they decide they want to leave their families and be together. And it's, even though like if their families are very against it, like it was very convenient writing. Some of the family members were just like super hysterical, and yeah, it wasn't believable. So I really wanted to like this. It had everything I thought should have had. I mean, it's two women. It's like, so it's a female-female relationship. It's two women of color. They're older women. So like that was really cute. I loved that. But I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. And I read so many good graphic novels this month that like this one just paled in comparison. Okay, the next book that I read that was a 2.5 star was 99% Mine by Sally Thorne, and this might be one of the biggest disappointments that I've read this month. I mean, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of the month. And I really wanted to like this because I love The Hating Game. It's so cute, and I may need to go back and read The Hating Game because this book was just so dialogue heavy that it was very hard to follow. And you would go an entire page without using a pronoun. It was just like, he said this, da 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 da, she said, da 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 da, he said. And so like you had to remember like who is even in the scene to figure out who's talking. And so it was just very difficult for me to really follow. And it was clunky and kind of spastic. It's a very cute like idea. Again, like it just wasn't very well executed. I think that the whole premise is about Darcy, who inherits with her twin brother, who inherits her grandmother's house. And Tom is the man who is Darcy's brother's best friend. And he is the contractor, and so the whole thing is like supposedly filled with tension because they're like building the house together and remodeling it so they can flip it. I would have loved to see the whole thing, like the whole idea was that like it's forbidden because he's the best friend, he's not hers, he's Jamie's, which is the twin brother. I would really liked to see more like male, like he's forbidden because Jamie loves him, not because they're best friends. Like that would have been cool. But I didn't get that. Yeah, it didn't live up to its hype and its expectations, so I was a little let down. Not telling you guys not to go out and buy it. It just came out January 29th, and you might love it. There are some people that really don't like it, and there are some people that really, really love it. So I think that I'm just in the negative opinion of it camp. So, all right, on to my better books. Those were my disappointments, so we're done with those. We're on to happier things. So my next book was a 3.5 star, and that is The Crown by Kira Cass. This kind of finishes up the selection series, and I think that this was a great ending to the story. And it took me a little bit to get into it. I probably should have reread The Heir before going into this, but I was on a crunch and I wanted to get this one done, and you know, so whatever. So anyway, so this finishes out the selection, and so Adolin, I think is how you pronounce her name. She's the daughter of America, and she's kind of in her own selection. And so it starts out with the heir, and then this is kind of the conclusion of it. So when basically it's the elite portion, like the six final men. There we go. I'm a hot mess today and I don't know how to review books. Why do you subscribe to my channel, people? Why? Alright, so this actually, like, I think it tied a lot of things together. There were some cameos from the first 3 books that I very much enjoyed. There were some things that were a little convenient, and I think that, like, she, like, makes these big, broad policy changes at the end of the book, and like nobody bats an eye, so that was a little bit weird, but like I don't know, I think it was just very empowering. So I didn't like the heir that much. I think that like at the beginning she's just kind of a little spoiled brat, but she really grows in this one, and that I very much appreciated. The next book was my group book, and for the Literary Alliance that I run with Kylie, and I'm trying to think of when this video is going out. The live show for this came out on Saturday, March 2nd. I think this is going up Sunday. So I will link it in the cards up above, and you can watch us ramble on about this book. And so it was Cersei by Madeline Miller. I should have known going into this wasn't going to be a favorite, despite like all of the hype, because I didn't like the Odyssey, I didn't like the Iliad. I don't like those like epic type stories. It's just, it goes too fast and I can't catch up. But the writing style on this book is beautiful. It's very lyrical. It's it's gorgeous. Again, I'm not a fantasy, I'm not a I don't even know if this is like historical fiction or fantasy, like it's mythology. And that's just generally not my genre of choice. This book wasn't a book I would have picked up on my own, but I am glad I read it. And I'm glad that we're going to get to talk about it. I think there's a lot of things that we're going to, I'm filming this on Friday, so the day before the live show. So yeah, I'm glad that we're going to get to talk about this and discuss it. I'm curious to see what everybody else is going to think about it. So this book, I'm going to do like a really brief synopsis because a lot of people put this on their favorite books of 2018, and so I'm not going to go into much detail about it, but this book is about Cersei, obviously, who is the daughter of Helios, and she has started partaking in witchcraft, which is forbidden and it's kind of feared by the gods, and so she's actually banished to this island to live out basically in isolation. And so it's basically like just the story of that. There are a few men. There are some cameos of other Greek gods, which I kind of enjoyed and I liked that. But it was, like I said, it just wasn't the style of story that I liked. It went too fast for me and I had a hard time keeping up with it, if that makes sense. I was trying to listen to it on audio and I was getting distracted. I was trying to read it physically and I was getting distracted, or I wasn't reading fast enough. So yeah, not a bad book by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want to dissuade people from reading it because it was very interesting. You just have to know going into it that that is the type of story that it is. All right, I had 2 4-star books, and they were both graphic novels. So the first one was Giant Days Volume 3. I had to remember which one I was on. So Giant Days Volume 3. This one was just the continuation of the Giant Days series. And again, it was just super cute. I loved it. It had a little bit more, the story is really starting to pick up. If you don't know, it's about these 3 girls and their group of friends at I think it's actually medical school. I thought it was just college, but this one, I think it's medical school, which I found out of this episode. And so a lot of this episode was about one of the girls trying to basically be a campaign manager for someone who was running for student body president, which was interesting and cute, and I love that because I did a lot of politics in college and stuff like that, so it was kind of nostalgic, I guess. Yeah, super cute. I love it. I'm definitely going to be continuing on into the series, and I'm so glad that it kind of picked back up. Volume 2 was kind of a little bit of a disappointment, and Volume 3 I think has been my favorite so far. And the other one that I read both of these during the 24 and 48 hour readathon, so you'll get my live thoughts if you want to watch that vlog. And that was Sugar Volume 1. This is the same author and I think the same illustrator as Swing and Sunstone. I read Swing back in December, and then I found this one. It was on Hoopla and it was recommended because I had read Swing, and it was super cute, so cute. It is about a girl who is a college student and really can't pay for her tuition because she's having to pay her mom's medical bills, I believe. And so she meets this guy who they sleep together, and then he sees her tuition statement and basically starts paying her tuition in exchange for being his girlfriend. And so it's this whole sugar daddy lifestyle, and her kind of accidentally falling into it. And so I very much enjoyed it. It's again an area of life and relationships that I know nothing about. So I very much enjoyed it, and I think that the chemistry between the two of them I loved. I have more thoughts about it in the vlog if you would like to check that out. The next book was my 4.5-star read. So that is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I read this for the Hunger Along. Rhiannon with Crescent Moon Reads is doing a Hunger Along. So I read The Hunger Games, and I did it on audio because I read this in high school, physical form. And so coming back to it in audiobook is just kind of a different way to listen to it, I guess. I love this series, and I love The Hunger Games. This book is one of... I don't even remember which one's my favorite, to be honest. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to read Catching Fire in February and then Mockingjay in March, and I'm very excited to continue with the series. I'm not going to talk about what Hunger Games is. You guys know what this is. You guys have been around for, at least a few years. We are reading it in honor of its 10th anniversary, so it's been around. If you don't know what Hunger Games is, just go watch the movie. Like, you don't, I mean, you could just read the book, but you could also watch the movie because I love the movie. But I've watched the movie more recently, obviously, than I have the book, or read the book. And I was kind of, I guess, like, able to, like, find little Easter eggs because I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that was in there. It wasn't in the movie. So that was kind of cool. I like that. All right, moving on to my 5-star reads. I did have 2 despite like changing up my ratings. And so the first one is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. The problem with using your phone as a camera is that you get a phone call and then you have to take the phone call and then you don't remember where exactly you were in the talking about the book. So we're going to talk about Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This is a dystopian novel, and it is about basically a world where death does not exist, and you don't, like, they've cured death basically. And so there are these people called scythes, and their job is to go about randomly killing people. And so this book is about 2 people who are the scythes' apprentices, and the whole book is about like them basically having to battle each other for the scythe position. So it's the first in a duology. I'm very excited to pick up the next book here in a bit, not in February because I have way too much going on. But I definitely want to pick it up. I'm really excited about it. This book was so good, and it was so, like, it was just very interesting and page turning. I was very excited to read it the entire time. All right, and then moving on to my last 5-star book. It was a buddy read, and I read it with Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand. I will link her channel in the description below. And this is the book that I started in December and finished here in January just because we had so much going on in December, and that was World Without End by Ken Follett. This is the second in the Kingsbridge trilogy, the first one being Pillars of the Earth. And this book was so good. I listened to most of it on audio, and this book, I think I liked it. I mean, I liked it more than Pillars of the Earth. I did love Pillars of the Earth, but I think the pacing in that one was a little bit off. This one was so good. So good. Like, every page had some drama and action, and it was just so good. So this takes place in the 1300s, so it's several hundred years after Pillars of the Earth, and so the Kingsbridge Cathedral is like up and running. The town of Kingsbridge is a very prominent place because of the cathedral, and which was built in Pillars of the Earth. And this takes place right about the time of the Black Death and the bubonic plague, and so a lot of the storyline and the plot revolves around that. But there is also a lot of politics and drama just around that. Who should be prior, who should be the earl, that kind of, like, all the stuff. Yeah, it was so good. So good. So if you did like the Pillars of the Earth, I highly recommend that you pick this up. Obviously, like, it is a big book, about 1,100 pages. So, like, not for the faint at heart, but still very, very good. All right, so before I wrap things up, I just want to talk about the books that I am still currently reading that I just maybe didn't quite get finished. And the first one is Make Believe by Ariella Telex. That is an ARC that I received and I have been reading. It is a romantic suspense. And there are, like, I have a lot of feelings about this book. It's one of those books, it was a debut novel, and so the writing, there's a few things in the writing that definitely pull you out of the story, and you're like, oh, that's weird, why did she say that? But at the same time, this book is weird in a way that, like, you can't stop turning the page. So that's a sign of a good book, is that you really want to know what's going on, even though, like, it's kind of really weird and messed up. So there's that. And then the other 2 books that I am reading are Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I am less than 100 pages in, and I have to finish this by the end of February. So this is definitely going to be a high priority for the month, outside of my readathons. So I'm excited about it. Because I've watched the show, and the first book is very true to the book. The first season is very true to the first book. I feel like it's going to go really fast. I just haven't made it a very big priority this month. So definitely will in February so that I can join the live show. And then the other book that I am still currently reading is Carvel by Stephanie Garber. This, I'm listening to it on audio. Rebecca Soler actually does the audiobook for it, and I love her. She's the one that does, like, all of Marissa Meyer books. So I very much enjoy it. It's been pretty fascinating and pretty enjoyable. I've been listening to it when I go to the gym. So very excited about that. And yeah, those are the books that I'm reading right now. And I haven't started any for February yet as of February 1st. By the time you're seeing this, I will have started reading other books. So that is all I have for you today. If you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, there is a little red button that you can do so down below the video. And all of the links to my social medias will be in the description below if you would like to be my friend on any other platform. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.